August 18, 2013, the most historical decree of a when Her Imperial Majesty, the continent's Queen and Empress, the Throne Mother, Imperial Matriarch, Queen Sheba III, the Queen of Sheba, recognized by the entire global diaspora nation to be directly under the most senior ruling house lines, the lines of Kush. To all of our kingdoms and subjects, and whomever the certification of recognition, decree, and confirmation patent shall come before, greetings. Let it be known that I, Sheba III, Queen of Sheba, of the sovereign Imperial House of Ra, Kush Imperial Rock, Throne of Thrones of Nubia, Seventh Throne, Imperial Kasambura, Asari Keperu lines, and head of the African Kingdoms Federation, by our social traditions and motion, in due of our sovereign rights, under our ancient customs of the matriarchal Asasi Throne of Thrones of Kush, and our sovereign territories, have as mother throne hereby advance, elevate, acknowledge, and thus here recognize the children of any and all taken from Africa and their children throughout the generations of the Atlantic slave trade to this present generation of descendants of our nations and throne of Nubia Kush, tribal nations people from throughout the continent, referred to today as the African continent, by the power, authority, and divine right as their mother throne, and so decreed in the matriarchal decree informed in 2007 at the African Kingdoms Federation Tripoli First Summit, in accordance to the Nubian nation's patriarchal throne, King Adam Ra II's divine utterance, and in accordance with the Imperial Matriarch Empress Sheba Ra III's 2000 divine resolution of the highest Nubian crowns for recognition of the Diaspora nation's people, and Imperial Crown recognition, worked therefrom 2000 towards its realization, proclaimed in 2006, to become to the Nubia Sudan family throne nations people in Nubia's New Haifa and Nubian community. Let it be known by throne declaration to the Federation of the Royal Kingdoms and Chiefdoms delegation at the African Kingdoms 2007 Summit towards a united Africa, ratified in 2009 and made here officially proclaimed, signed on July the 10th, 2010, and made law by Crown Decree on this day, October the 1st, 2010. Let it be known and understood that within this decree of recognition, the reference Diaspora has equally been made to fall and henceforth to be referred to as the Africas, in a reference to here recognize Africas and their generations to come. By this, I recognize as mother and take upon myself as Imperial Matriarch of the Throne of Thrones our descendant children and of the many kingdoms and throne lines taken directly under their ancestral common share with all the nations and lines of Africa, born of the great ancestral lines of Kush, Nubia, the root ancestral mother throne as their mother. They of the referred to before this day as the African Diaspora, to the state, style, degree, dignity, title, and crown bestowed name and honor as the Nubian Kushite Kasambu nation of the Kush Nubia Sheba Imperial Matriarchal Throne, by the hierarchy and nobility of our sovereign family lines, thrones and territories, to have and to hold upon themselves and their heirs in recognition of their ancestors' generations that were taken to the generations of descendants into our sovereign imperial house and crown nation. Let it be known and understood that this recognition covers and includes any and all of the Africa's descendant generations form communities and nations that adheres to the ancestral traditions, social and community, cultural, moral norms, basic structure, and with respect to the royal norms and laws of this, their kingdom nation, and shall equally have the rights to petition for status as a royal chiefdom of the lines of the Throne of Thrones, Imperial Matriarchal line of Kush, Nubia, Sheba, Ancestral Mother Queendom, and Royal Court of Nobility. We have here to this day ordered our head of council and imperial and royal houses to cause and register these patents of immediate effect from this day for infinity, as here so decreed and so willed by I, Sheba the third of the seventh throne, on this day before the God of our ancestors and ancestors of the Nubian Kushite Kasambu nation of the House of Ra, Imperial Matriarchal Throne of Thrones.
Imperial Kasambu Nation, the transatlantic Nubian diaspora of over 350 million plus community, formerly known as the African Diaspora, was recognized August 18, 2013 as an integral part of the Nubian Kingdom's nation by the Imperial Sheba Throne of Thrones of the House of Kush. Whereas, the Imperial Kingdom and Imperial Sovereign are in reference to the one ancient kingdom, the matriarchal ancestral bloodline, the highest royal order in the world since the anointment of the institutions of kingdoms at the dawn of existence. Whereas, the Anu, now known as Nubians, are the most ancient civilization originating from the source of the Nile and established the kingdoms of Kush, that of the empire ancestral lines of the Nubian dynasty of ancient Ethiopia, Egypt, Libya, Mesopotamia, India, Asia, America, and all the original rulers of the first nations of the world. Whereas, the mighty Kushites ruled the world and are known in annals of history as the Kais of Afghanistan, Kish and Kusoi of Persia, Kassi of Assyria, Kishu of Babylonian, Kesser and Castra of Rome, Kish of Kishtawar and Kashmir, Cathay of China, Kshatriya and Hattia of India, Kshatrap of Greece, Caudillo, Castro and Castile of Spain, Kushang of Siberia, Kaiser of and Hessian of Germany, Khazar, Kazakh and Cossacks of Russia, Goths, Guti, Gades, and Cadus of Europe, as well as the Kushite Mande Olmecs who formed the ancient kingdoms of the Inca, Quechua, the Aztec, Toltec, and Nahuatl Kashil and Kashika, the Mayan Kashikal and Quiche, the Caribbean, Taino and Arawak Kashekwa and Kashika, the Mexican, Mixtec, Zapotec and Tarascan Kushu, and Kushansi, the Arizona Oadam Kusha and Kais, the Hopi and Puebloan Katsina, the southwestern Puebloan Kosher, the Zuni Koshikwa, the Yakwi Kashike and Kashil, the Seneca Gasha, the Yuman Kishan, Iroquois Mohawk Kez, the Caddo and Kadi, the Eskimo Kasham, and are the inheritors of the throne of Anu. Whereas, the oracle prophesied the return of the Ancient One in the 7th dynasty 7,000 years ago. Whereas, Her Imperial Majesty Sheba Kasambu Ra, the seventh arisen one of the heavenly house of Ra, was enthroned as such in alignment with the stars. Whereas, on August 18, 2013, in accordance with divine utterance of the patriarchal throne king Adam Kasambu Ra II and the divine resolution of the imperial matriarch Empress Sheba Kasambu Ra III, the highest Nubian crowns, advanced, elevated, acknowledge and recognize the global diaspora to the state, style, degree, dignity, title, and crowned the Vitae Cas Ambunation of the Kush Nubia Sheba Imperial Matriarchal Throne, by the hierarchy and nobility of our sovereign family lines, thrones and territories to have and to hold and is begotten, in recognition, whereas this recognition covers and includes any and all of the descendant generations from cities, organizations and nations that adhere to the ancestral traditions, cultural norms, and basic structure with respect to the royal protocols and laws of this their kingdom nation.
Treaty of peace with all families. The law between our houses. Number 1. This covenant is for the peace and harmony between our families. Number 2. Our freedoms, safety, possessions, and basic rights shall be mutually respected. Number 3, our commerce will always be conducted in good faith. Number 4, we mutually agree not to trespass upon the rightful claims of contract, land, or title of the other. Number 5, every family shall bear their own inherited names, crest, seals, flags, and banners. Number 6, the conclusion of any conflict may be settled by family elders or by tribunal. Number 7, this treaty will automatically renew in the spring of each year unless otherwise revised. Treaty of peace with all families.
Wow, that was heavy. Neil Martai, I mean, nothing like this has happened in over 500 years. Most, I mean, literally, we are living a part of history as we speak. It's it's just a little bit overwhelming when you think about it. Uh,
Right.
so many of us, being victims of separation from our culture. Not knowing what tribe we come from, seeking an identity. Trying to figure out who we are, where we came from, who our ancestors were. I mean, all those questions have been resolved. The most
Right.
the most ancient ancestor, the senior bloodline, the mother throne, has claimed us into her bosom directly under the throne of thrones. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Nah, facts. Like I said, like you said, it's just very overwhelming. Yeah, a lot of people don't understand the gravity of the situation, but we are not orphans. We're not castaways. We have been accepted by our mother tribe, Nubia Sheba Throne of Thrones. And this is a glorious day, and hopefully, every year it's gonna get bigger and better. And we like to open the floor for people if they got any questions. We'll continue on, you know, deliberating this information about being part of the House of Kush, being part of that family.
I know that I personally had some questions, which I'm going to answer. Like myself later on in in this forum, regarding like a little bit of the background history of Kush. Because I think a lot of us don't really comprehend what that means. We have an idea of it from like a biblical perspective. You know what I mean when they talk about Kush.
Right.
Um, but I mean, the information in the Bible is limited. So being that we have a connection to the root throne, you and I have been blessed to be party to a lot more of the family heritage, and background, which we will go into that in a little bit. But like I said, we're live right now, so like if there's anyone out there that has any questions that they want to post to us, we're more than happy to address those.
Yeah. Just to expound a little bit more on what you just said about the limited information there is out there about the House of Kush and what the House of Kush is. Um, it is very limited, and when you deal with mainstream academia scholars and people of that nature, for some reason they never go and ask or inquire about the living family members and the record of what those family members got to say about the royal houses and things of that nature. And we never really see that level of commitment when it comes to our scholars. They usually just do their archaeological guesses about what they think things are, what how they feel things are interpreted. But it's a whole nother story once you actually talking to people who belong to those royal houses, who have committed to honoring those ancestral traditions for thousands of years, unbroken lines of successions. To to be an African American, quote
I think
unquote. You say what?
you bring up a good point. A lot of the information that people have is from like third party sources. People that are researchers that are speculating, and forming hypotheses about what they think something is or what it is, and that's vastly different from receiving the information firsthand from actual Kushites themselves. From traditions that have been passed down from generation to generation. It's the equivalent of me trying to tell you who you are versus you telling me who
Fact.
you are. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're dealing with here. People need to realize that Kush is not a dead empire. That Kushites never stopped being born. We're the first kingdom after the deluge, and we never stop reproducing. There's a continuous
What up,
unbroken
family?
line of throwing arrogance going all the way back to himself. So I think
Peace, peace.
that's the biggest separation most people have. They look at Kush as being
Cigarette?
something of the past and not to the present.
We got brother
What you about to say?
Ruben on the line. He's one of the newest members into the Treaty of Peace and Family. He's a good brother. We've met him in some of the debate circuits here and online, and he's come to be a very good, honorable brother, a very honest brother. And I'm actually glad to
I agree with that.
have him in the tribe, man.
yeah, King Naga always been proving himself to be a stand up man and a man of honor and integrity. It's just an honor to be associated with the brother.
Yeah, so we kind of just really expounded on what it is to be a part of the House of Kush, what it means to be connected to your ancestral tribes, thrones, and stools, and how important that is to maintain that identity leading back to who we were in the past, because we do have an illustrious history. You know what I'm saying? We have a global presence on this planet, not just just here in the West for 500 years, but our genes and our blood goes back to the ancients. So we're here to testify and be a witness to Her Majesty and what she has done for our people, as far as extending her own family lines and name, to us. And here we are, celebrating the Diaspora Day, August 18th, out there for anybody who don't know. Uh, we plan on having a get together in the park on the 22nd, Carondelet Park. If you're in the St. Louis area, we're gonna have games. We're gonna have libations. We're gonna have a good time. Bring food. That's our tradition. Is anytime we meet up, we bring food. We eat together as a family to re-strengthen that common unity in our community.
Right.
Yeah.
Now here's another point that I want to make too, as far as like this journey that a lot of people have been on for identity is, some of us are trying to seek validation with outside of ourselves. We're like trying to be validated by uh, uh, cer- certain governments, usually the colonial government at that, looking for them to accept our identity and stuff like that, filing a bunch of paperwork. Well, what we're discussing here today is totally different from that. We're not filing paperwork, we're not petitioning, the colonial government recognition, whatnot. We've been recognized by our own, organically, from the de jure organic lawful perspective, you know, um, and I think that's very significant. We need to stop outside of ourselves, for validation and accept, our own culture and our own cultural norms and practices, and that's what we're doing here. We're embracing our ancestral heritage, whereby by accepting the blessing that's been placed upon us by Her Imperial Majesty. Now, once again, we'll open for any Q&A, and if we don't have any questions, I'm gonna queue up some information here and go into the some background history of the thrones. Is that okay with you, more time? All right, so I'm going to hit share my screen. Share screen.
Yeah, man. This is this is actually a first for us because we usually don't really do a lot of open things like this. This is the first. It's gonna be much better next year. Y'all got something to look forward to because we gonna do it real big. One day y'all gonna see a parade going down the street with the flags and stuff flying.
All right, so I'm sharing my screen. It should be up.
Yeah,
So I'm
we see it.
just going to I'm just going to a little bit of background history about the ruling house formations, basic history, the unbroken throne of ancient. The Nubian Kushite Imperial Empire of Sheba is the oldest queendom throne and mother throne of the thrones of the kingdom nations in existence, predating all the world's kingdoms and nations. The matriarchal rule Kandaki lines of empire kingdoms of the first civilization known to mankind ruled in its past all of the known world. The history and structure of the Nubian Sheba throne imperial empire kingdoms. To understand this ancient African imperial kingdom empire matriarchs and royal kingdom structure is to understand the foundation of kingdoms, the governments thereof, the kingdom nations past, and the kingdoms in its present time. Firstly, the terms imperial kingdom and imperial sovereign are in reference to the one ancient African kingdom as the root mother kingdom of the royal kingdoms and royal kingdoms ruling head. The mother kingdom royal ancestral bloodline represents ancestors of all of the African royal kingdoms and royal bloodlines of the African continent, ancient and descendant empires and kingdoms of Nubia in its totality. The Nubian imperial status is the highest order and oldest earthly royal status within Africa and the highest royal order in the known world since the anointment of the institutions of kingdoms at the dawn of existence. It is the line of the ancients, or otherwise referred to as the mother empire of the royal kingdom nations, and historically is undeniably the highest form of earthly royal recognition. In ancient Nubian polity, a royal kingdom or royal sovereign is under an imperial matriarch in status and is the royal monarch of a royal kingdom or a main royal kingdom. Its sub-kingdoms of the imperial empire, respectively, multiple royal kingdom nations that are within Africa, and these constitute royal kingdoms in their thousands. A royal kingdom that has multiple sub-kingdoms is referred to as a paramount kingdom, and its monarch, the paramount royal king of that respective branch of the royal lines kingdoms of the empire. The empire kingdom is the head of all the kingdoms and responsible for the affairs of the respective royal kingdoms and the royal monarchs of the royal kingdoms directly. This intricate structure of the empire kingdom reflects the entire imperial empire, respective royal kingdoms and lineage of multiple paramount and royal kingdoms nations. In other words, the empire imperial matriarch sovereign is the absolute omni-paramount sovereign head of the paramount monarchs or major royal kingdom sovereign heads and sub-kingdoms, royal monarchs of all the respective royal kingdoms of the imperial empire beneath their respective thrones, which in itself is structurally beneath the imperial throne of the matriarch. Matriarchs and patriarchs. Thrones of the matriarchal empire since the dawn of kingdoms. The empire matriarchs are referred to, regardless of their gender, as the king of kings, or in terms of the throne of the matriarchal empire, the queen of Sheba. This reference to the highest empire, Sheba throne, is indicated above, covers all the royal kingdom's monarchs, be they paramount, major, or sub-kingdom royal monarchs of the root empire in their totality. In formal terms and status reference, the imperial sovereign or imperial empress is in reference to the matriarch status as sovereign highest head of all the empire, royal kingdoms, nations, people. Matriarch is, as such, the imperial empress of the kingdoms in direct reference to the collective kingdoms, nations, hundreds of millions of people that form the collective respective kingdom nations under their direct throne ruler. Protocol and governance. The matriarchs rarely interfere in the respective kingdoms' internal affairs outside of internal government affairs that can affect multiple kingdom nations or in times of strife. As such, the matriarch's focus is more on matters of the collective kingdom's well-being, guidance, prosperity, and protection. In accordance with ancient African kingdoms' tradition and culture, all African kingdoms have their own respective internal royal governments of their respective royal throne monarchs. The ancient kingdom form of government mirrors the postings in modern national ministerial formation. These are made up of all the respective and relevant kingdom cabinets, ministers, parliaments, armies, warriors, and judicial divisions, as well as traditional formal postings in accordance to each respective ancient kingdom's internal protocol. African royal monarchs are the active ruling heads of the monarch's respective kingdoms, nations, people, kingdoms, world government, and of their kingdom's internal judicial system. The monarchs, by royal utterance, proclamation, writing, or otherwise of decrees, laws, and rules, are final. The empire imperial monarch, though matriarchal, is referred to as the king of kings and rarely spoken of or seen. Most often, the matriarch or king is whispered of with respect and revered as the highest and most sacred bloodline and royalty of the matriarchal lines, or the mother line of the queen, king of kings and queens, the mother kingdom empress and queen of the empire kingdom. This decorum and reference of the empire imperial matriarch is an automation that dates back to the traditional security system before the colonial and post-colonial era of African form government nations. So that's some of the background history on the throne of Kush. So once again, I'm going to open up the floor to any questions or comments.
Nope. Like that was pretty much to the point for me, man.
So to summarize, what was said there is basically that since the dawn of civilization, this form of royal government has been in place. I would go so far as to say that this system of governance descended down from heaven to man. Because you think about it, even in the religious context, they always refer to the deity as sitting upon a throne or ruling from a throne and having about the throne, the court, as well as the guards of the throne, by different names, but same function. So this system of government is ancient, and it's been with us from the beginning. That's one thing that we should comprehend. Also in the Nubian throne history, it talks about how that bloodline is like a golden thread to civilization. That when we speak of the mother throne, that we're speaking of in like a literal sense, that the matriarch literally gave birth to us, gave birth to the first of men. There was a recently in modern history, scientists did a DNA study of tracking mitochondrial DNA, and they discovered that all humans in existence today can be traced back to one woman in Africa 200,000 years ago. So that's modern science backing up what is already known to us within our throne history. You know, now, how does that relate to a diaspora recognition? Is that we are recognized as belonging to that family of Kush. Even though the Kush bloodline is the main bloodline giving birth to other bloodlines, those bloodlines are kingdoms and sub-kingdoms within the Empire Kush. Now, the Sheba bloodline is actually more ancient than the Kush bloodline, because Kush inherited the throne from Anu, who ruled the world before him. But all of that traces back. When you follow the throne back further, it gets all the way back to Isis and Osiris. When it talks about throne, and in fact, the Medu Neter hieroglyphic symbol for Isis is the throne itself. She is the throne, and Heru, the king, sits on her lap. So that goes back to when I was saying earlier, as far as the throne, the matriarchal throne, literally giving birth to men. That just as Isis or Aset gave birth to Heru, that's a literal thing that we're speaking of. That that the king is literally the son of the goddess, and now she has embraced us as her children. You have anything you want to add to that, Nehemiah the first?
Yeah. When people hear the thrones, I don't think they realize how deep that it actually goes and how ancient that is. Like when we review the throne history, it states about us having celestial ancestors. You know what I'm saying? And dealing with those celestial ancestors, we're talking about celestial thrones. You know what I'm saying? And that's how old. Like when in the proclamation, and it says that this comes back from the time of existence, the beginning of existence. You know what I'm saying? I don't think people understand like how deep and how profound that really is. We are part of a galactic family, y'all. Like this isn't we not alone, period. We not alone, period. So, our ancestral thrones is connected to our celestial thrones, and they're actually a mirror image of each other. And that's an aspect, some people might not be able to cope with just yet, but they'll catch up. Uh you know, so when we deal with those old bloodlines, we start going into like birthright. And the first of us would be our elders. They would be our living ancestors. So you know what I'm saying? They need to really truly understand where divine kingship actually comes from, and how birthrights and hereditary titles and things of that nature work. Like that's why we sit down and we study royal protocol and things of that nature, so we can further understand those things better, because we've been cut off for about 500 years. So
Right, and you've been cut off for 500 years, and um, the decree brought us into elevated, provide be a better word, elevated us into the house of Kush, which we were told is an occurrence that hasn't happened in 1,000 years because uh,
Yeah, but
most of us were not born directly on the lines of Kush, and so
I don't know.
that's
I never use it. I
in
never
1,000
use
years
it.
since people
I do know what you
who
do.
was not directly
Use
born
it to change other
was prior to the
people
house.
under.
So that also is historic when you think about it. Also, I want to add, so when the proclamation was made, there was also a provision to apply the petition for a royal chiefdom status, which we did, and we did receive uh, royal chieftaincy status uh, from Her Imperial Majesty for the royal chiefdom of Tamara Kush. So just to make that distinction, Tamara Kush is a royal chiefdom under the throne. So there's a hierarchy. So you have the throne of thrones, you have the thrones, which are the kings and queens, and then you have the stools, which are the chiefs and chieftains. Right. So just to be clear, Tamara Kush is not an empire. We're not a kingdom. We're not claiming dominion over the earth, anything crazy like that. No, we're just a small portion of the
Yeah,
empire within the
that's
empire.
the big misconception a lot of people get. Like when they hear that we not trying to overthrow the government. We not into overthrowing other monarchs and claiming the titles of other people. We not into that. Like we perfecting our own community, perfecting our own tribalhood and stuff like that. And that's really just dealing with your own family and the commerce and stuff that you have in between the houses and stuff like that. We don't have time for all of the rest of that. It's a headache, and just to sit down and talk to people who have this self righteous mentality because they're pumped up on their own ego and delusions of grandeur. You know what I'm saying? And they want to be recognized as the kings and queens, but yet they don't recognize other kings and actual real kings and queens with titles of nobility. They don't really honor that type of stuff, but they want to be honored as even other lofty titles like cheek and grand this and grand that, and people come up
Well,
with all
yeah,
kind of
that's kind of like why I brought this up because as you know, we formulated the Treaty of Peace and Family, and one of the provisions in there is to respect the rightful titles of others, and the converse of that is what we're also saying is don't be claiming stuff that ain't yours. As you mentioned, um, as a byproduct of many of our people not knowing where they came from and grasping for identities, they've created artificial identities for themselves, artificial titles, etc. But as you and I have come to learn that many of those practices are taboo. Not only is it taboo, it's also highly disrespectful for the actual holders of those titles. Um, and just because a title may be vacant doesn't mean that any random person can just come and pick it up either. That's not how it works. There's protocols, there's rules and orders to this, certain steps that you have to follow in order to achieve any type of royal status or titles of nobility. And there is has nothing to do with any paperwork, copyrights, and trademarks, or anything ridiculous like that. These traditions are ancient. You know, these protocols of governance have been in place for, since the beginning of time. And that's what we follow. So, and part of the recognition, part of the thoughts is that you are to follow the protocols and cultural norms. It can't just be willy nilly out here and disrespecting the families who hold those titles and what have you. You need to show the proper, respect, and in that manner, give what you get, and you get what you give, in that regard. So, uh, it's never about egos or anything like that. It's about, law and order, custom, tradition, the way things are done, and they're done that way for a reason. You know.
Yeah, man.
Also, I want to add on to that. There's a common misconception about like the roles and responsibilities of nobles and royals. Um, Most of us look at it from, well, here in the West, we look at it from a Eurocentric point of view, because I mean that's just a byproduct of not being connected to our own culture. And I think a lot of us kind of look at people in those positions as being like ruling over us, like they got their feet on our necks or something like that. But what we have come to learn is that in our culture, in the Nubian culture, really, a person in those positions is really a servant of the people. It's not just you're not. It's not about being a tyrant and ordering people around, but it's actually about serving your community. That's really what it's all about. You're taking an oath to serve and protect, your extended family, which is your tribe and your community. So that's something also to keep and bear in mind. We need to get back to the proper mind frame in terms of that. A lot of people are just looking for fame and fortune and likes and followers and things like that. It's not about that. And photo ops, it's not about that at all. It's about making a personal sacrifice and doing what you can for the upliftment of those around you. Your friends, your family, community.
Facts, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that was one of the main things that we had ended up finding out when we started dealing with the throne is, boy, this is a lot of humanitarian work. We found out that it was a lot of humanitarian work. So if you are out there and you want to be part of a humanitarian effort, get in contact with us, and it's plenty of work. It's plenty of work all around the world. You know what I'm saying? But we decided to be here local and help out our local people right here because we need it bad. And it's not the glamour and glitz everybody think it is. Like everybody just think it's like pictures and videos and jewelry and $1,500 suits, and it ain't about none of that stuff. Man. It's really about people connecting with people and making people's lives easier, improving their lives. That's what it's really about. That's what it's really about, bro. Reaching out, building families, building some type of market for us, so we can be productive global citizens. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly. So this August 18 marks the anniversary of the Diaspora, formerly known as Diaspora, because we have an identity now. We are no longer uh, the Diaspora lost tribe. We have been found. We are known. We are Kushites. And in our native tongue, it's pronounced as Kas or Kasamsu, meaning the tribe of Kush. That's who we are. You can call yourself a Kushite, same thing. You know, and Kushites are Nubians. So the term Nubian coming from Nubu or Nubi. Um, these are children of Nu, right? So many of us may be familiar with that name Nu as being a representative of primordial deity, the goddess of the primordial abyss, Nu, in the Kemetic text is our mother. So when we say that we are Nubians, we are saying that we are children of Nu, right? And we're children of the heavens, of the primordial abyss is our mother, and that 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 word Nubian is pretty much synonymous with man, or a human, in terms of how we use that. When we say that we're Nubians, we're basically saying that we're humans. It's, so that applies to all of us. We're all Nubians. That's we're all children of Nu. Without exception. Unless you're like a cyborg or something. You're human. You're born from Nu, and if not born from Nu directly, you're born from the children of Nu indirectly,
Right.
having the same source nonetheless. So Kushites are Nubians. So just to make sure that we're clear on that, Kush represents a particular person, in a particular family bloodline. Kush not being the first bloodline, but not from the dawn of existence, but rather the first two established kingdoms after the deluge, right? After the great cataclysm, society had fallen apart, and so the institutions of kingdom was reintroduced to the world by Kush, right? And that's how we are come to be known as Kushites, being a part of the kingdoms and dominions of Kush.
Fact. Fact. A lot of people don't know how deep that actually goes. Like most of the world rulers were their titles are named after Kush titles, Cushitic titles. People don't know how deep that actually goes. Now, a lot of people mistake the Anu people as being these nomadic group of people that came into ancient Egypt. Some people even call them the progenitors of the Hyksos, which I don't necessarily believe in that. But it's really interesting for us to dig off these hard histories, human history, not just your individual history, but our history at large, globally. And this is one of the reasons why we go by the names that we go by, is because of how inclusive it is to everyone on the planet. And we come from all the waters and all the lands of the earth, and we like to reflect that in our identity.
Right, true that. So, to add on to what you're saying there, Kush is Kush is a global empire, and also known as the Kingdom of the South. Because 10,000 years ago, we were coming to the end of a major ice age, and during that time, a lot of the northern hemisphere was covered with ice. It was, uninhabitable or less desirable to be inhabited. You know, so the majority of the world civilization was in the south. So you may hear that reference. The kingdom of the south. When you hear that reference, the kingdom of the south, we're talking about um, the kingdom and the dominions of Kush. And when you look at the maps, you'll see a lot of references to Kush in the southern portions of like India with the Kushan Empire. You can find that on the map, and you'll notice that it's in the southern portion of the globe. And there was a reason for that. So you had the Ice Age, and then you also had the comet asteroid, which struck in the northern hemisphere as well, and that may be tied to the cataclysm or the deluge occurred around that time as well. So for all we know, that asteroid may have been what hastened the end of the Ice Age and the melting of the ice and whatnot. But 10,000 years ago, there was a lot of stuff going on in the northern hemisphere that made it like not a desirable place to be. So like I said, the kingdom of the south. When we talk about the known world, that's what we're talking about, the kingdom of the south.
Yeah. In addition to that, when we talk about the deluge, I like to bring up now one of the fascinating things I like to study is human migration. What would possess a people to uplift and uproot themselves and to travel thousands of miles across a dead Arctic tundra to reach the Americas? And when we do the DNA research, we find out that that people crossed over into the Americas roughly around 10,000 to 15,000 years ago, which kind of marks the same time frame of the deluge. You know what I'm saying? So I've always wondered if it was something as harsh as a meteor, a meteor contact or something like that that caused the people to start migrating and leaving the areas and stuff like that. Because they occupied those areas for thousands of years, and it's like you would think the most logical place to go would be south, but they didn't go south; they went north. You know what I'm saying? So I think
Yeah,
it's interest. It's an interesting topic.
we had the majority of the population was in the south. We are told that a portion of armies of Kush was sent up north, and that they got trapped by ice, and this led to the development of our lighter skinned family
Right.
who have been separated from Kush proper and got sent up north. But they were originally a part of the kingdoms of Kush and was sent up there by us, and it just got cut off. So
They got
it was probably when we talk about the migrations. So that's what's leads to, like you're saying, as far as like people traveling across the ice and whatnot. They had been cut off, and I guess taking alternate routes, end up traveling over that way. But
yeah, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, but
They
we
could
had
have
already,
been cut off.
but we had already been like, because I think what you're talking about is like the Bering Strait
Yeah.
and like coming into America from the north. But that was later in history. We had already been to America
Hmm.
long before that. You got to understand, like Nubian people, we've been on this planet for millions of years. Not just thousands, but millions of years. We've
Or I
been
think
on this
the throne history says 6.9 million years.
uh something like that. It might have been 6 million. But even if you say it was just a million, you know, um, modern science only attributes, the current human, or what they call the Homo sapiens sapiens, as being, like a little over like 200,000 years old. But the throne history does reference, Nubian people going back millions and multiple of millions of years. And in that time frame, we've been all over the planet. You know,
Yeah, the more they do, the
when
more they
talking,
dig, the more they keep pushing back the timeline. You know, I
right,
remember, a few years ago it was like 50,000 years, and it went from 50,000 to 100,000, and they found Lucy. You know what I'm saying? And it keep the timeline keep getting pushed back, and eventually they're gonna find out the throne history is remarkably accurate. Yeah, as far as telling us how long we've been in this form. Uh, they found structures in South Africa that were over 200,000 years old, and we're not talking about like huts. We're talking about actual brick masonry. We're talking about walls that takes science. Like you have to have science to create bricks and irrigation systems, and you need science for that type of stuff. So, our ancestors were dealing with science even 200,000 years ago. And I mean, that in itself, they
you're
thought we
right,
was still monkeys 200,000 monkeys
right.
don't
And
build
it talks about
houses.
they talk about the Anu people, like prior to the cataclysm. Anu people, like mildly referred to as like the Twa people or Khoisan people. You know, they ruled the world before us, and it said that they had achieved a high level of technology. You know, a high level of technology, which at some point uh, almost led to their own destruction. Kind of like what we're living in today. And after that they opted for a simpler way of life. Because that high level technology almost led to their own demise because it got abused. It's kind of like what we're going through now uh, with technology. It's got to be a balance. There's got to be a harmony between man and machine, and
Yeah,
between
true that.
technology and nature.
Yeah, that's the aspect that a lot of people not really dealing with is how do we integrate uh science, technology, spirit, and spirituality. How do we combine it where it's healthy, where it's healthy? Because too much spirituality and religion leads to fanaticism, and then too much science and too much rigid science leads to narrow mindedness and greed. You know what I'm saying? So we have to find a delicate balance between the two. I encourage everybody to start doing a at home experiments with energy generation and things of that nature.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, there needs to be a balance. You know, technology is a good tool. But you know, we we should not become a slave of the tool. You know what I'm saying? Because like today, the world that we live in today, everything is ran by computers. Think about it, it used to be like you go to a bank knew you, they'll give you a loan just based off knowing you. But now you go for a loan, they put your information to a computer, and then the computer tells them a score, and then they base their decision off what the computer said. So it's no longer all the banker knows you've been banking with them for years.
Right.
It's all about what the machine is telling them.
Right.
So they're taking out the human element. They're taking out the passion. It's all ones and zeros. Just everything is
Yeah, I
robotic
went
now.
I went to the store the other day. I can't remember what store, and I'm not gonna mention them. But I went in the store and they had a big old for sale. I mean, a hiring sign on the front. But when you go in, it's only one. It's one person at the at the little desk before you walk out the door. But 10, you know what I'm saying? Who are y'all trying to hire? For what? All of your positions are ran by robots. And then it's like, and then we'll sit here and complain about like unemployment. There's not being enough not being enough jobs and stuff. And it's like you give all the jobs a robot.
Right, and like right now we're in danger of creating an artificial intelligence that would become an immortal dictator. I mean, just think about it, taking away all human compassion, and let's say, for example, let's say you you jaywalk. Well, most people don't get tickets for jaywalking, but if the AI is running things, I mean, that might be 100 days in jail or something, something crazy like that for jaywalking.
Right.
You spit on the sidewalk and you get shot by a drone or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of world that we're looking at, and if we're not careful, we're going to trade convenience for slavery.
Shit, the way things going these days, I don't know what's more dangerous, the police or the AI robot. Kind of doing the same thing. Yeah, man.
Yeah, but that's just just going just kind of like highlighting back to what we were saying before, about our ancestors, our new people, and
Mm-hmm.
the struggle that they ended up facing by becoming overly technological. And in the annals of history, I think the world has been destroyed at least maybe 4 times that we can remember.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the funny thing about history is that unfortunately we don't learn history.
Nope.
All these things are here to remind us. That's kind of like, I know you had mentioned religion before, but like that's actually what one of the main purposes of religion is to keep those stories in our minds.
Right.
They're, uh, so that we can look out when we see these patterns repeating themselves, so that we can be aware of it. It's like I talk about, like market bees, and now we got these like vaccine passports. You can't buy, sell, or trade, anything like that. Also these are clues of things that have happened in the past. That are being shared with us as a warning. For future generations, the things to look out for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So this this Sunday we're gonna be having our Diaspora Recognition of the Diaspora Day celebration. Former Diaspora, because we are no longer just a label. You know, our identity has been restored. We're Kushites, Kasambu. But this Sunday we'll be breaking bread. If you're local in St. Louis, we call it Mountain City area. You know, we'll be at Carondelet Park. You know how to get in contact with us. If you're from the Louis, you already know who we are and how to reach us. We'll be there breaking bread. You know, and it's gonna be a wonderful thing. Recently, we broke bread with the Fahami and had a wonderful time. You know, they brought out all the delicious dishes, and whatnot. And so, we're looking forward to, people coming through and breaking bread with us this weekend. We're going live today, August 18th, because today is the official day that marks, the anniversary of the decree. The decree has been a process of different milestones and different dates associated with it. But the official recognition day that we celebrated is today, August 18th. So, mark your calendars. We have Black History Month, where people we explore the greatness of our people historically. This is a day for you to explore the greatness of your ancestors. Let this be a day for you to latch on to the legacy of your forefathers and foremothers who came before you, and to give honor and give thanks to the thrones who recognized us and gave us back our identity. So, give thanks to the throne, pour libations for the ancestors, give with family and friends, study the history, look into the greatness of Kush, read about the Kandaki, the Candaces, and how they fought to maintain, our culture, in the face of all odds, and that Kushite culture that encompasses, all the continent and the kingdoms and nations around the world. As we read, the proclamation earlier, we went through a lot of the names of how the various ruling classes of various nations all around the globe bear the name of Kush in their titles, because it was a global empire. We are a global people, and we are still here today. We're here right now representing, for the House of Kush.
Facts, bro. Yeah, so we want y'all to come out and enjoy the 22nd with us at Carondelet Park. Remember how we do. We bring food when we show up. We break bread with each other. We eat good. We drink good. We have good music. And it's a for real celebration.
Yeah. So
this I think it's Sunday. Is already Sunday, right? 22nd Sunday. We'll have the unveiling of our flag. That's gonna be special. I can't wait for that. Bro. This flag.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be lovely.
I think we can conclude it here if we don't have any more questions or anything like that.
Yeah, so anybody that's watching has any questions or any comments, anything they want us to comment on, anything like that, we're open to that. Floor open. we would like to give you a final opportunity to have your voice heard. Your voice is heard.
All righty then. So, let's see here. All right, so I don't see nobody chiming up right now. We can go ahead and end the broadcast, man. I'll see you this Saturday and Sunday, actually.
Oh, a couple announcements. So Friday we will be at the Nubian exhibit Friday evening. So if you're in the area, we will be there this Friday at the Nubian exhibit, and then Sunday is the communion.
Facts.
Well, if there aren't any questions or whatnot, then I think we can close out the live stream, and then people can make your comments on the post or whatnot, and we'll get back to you, or you can reach out to us directly.
Facts. All right, bro. Salutations. Peace and love, family. Be well. Go with light and love.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone who took the time, to participate, view live stream, and any future comments, questions will be embraced. And just want to let you all know that we love y'all. Y'all are family. We all family. We all extended family. We all related. So want to leave you with that. One light.
One light.